Welcome to Honored Madman, and today we're talking about The Last of Us. I just got caught up on the 2 episodes that HBO has released so far, and I have some thoughts. So look, I'm not even the biggest fan of the Last of Us video game series. I mean, there's definitely some cool stuff there. I like the first game a lot. The second game has improved gameplay, but the most infuriating story imaginable. People are right when they call it feel-bad porn. That's literally what that game is. But the first game is pretty solid. It's sort of like Children of Men with an interesting zombie twist. I mean, what am I even doing? Everybody knows The Last of Us. If you're watching this, you know what the games are about. They weren't really original, they just kind of blended a couple genres together and tied it all together with a refreshingly unique take on zombies. Although I am almost certain to this day that when, Neil Druckmann was writing the first one, it was originally just regular zombies and that he was watching some nature documentary and saw the cordyceps on that and was like, oh, this would be so much better. Because, I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, maybe he was already knowledgeable, maybe he wasn't, but that's my crackpot theory. Anyway, this isn't even really about the games. This is about the new HBO series, The Last of Us, starring Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. So this show was created for TV and show ran by a guy named Craig Mazin. What's interesting about Craig is that he's mostly known for his work on a show called Chernobyl, which was critically acclaimed, and admittedly it was pretty good. Like, I liked a lot of the acting in it, a lot of the cast, especially Jesse Buckley and Stellan Skarsgård, big fans of theirs. And look, Mazin claimed to have researched extensively about Chernobyl, but the thing was full of so many inaccuracies that could be its own video itself. And it kind of painted this narrative that the scientists were the good guys and they were kind of hamstrung by the government who wanted to keep everything under wraps. And, you know, maybe that was true, but it definitely did feel like there was a black and white narrative there. And maybe, to me, it felt like in real life, maybe things were more complicated than that. Things were maybe a bit more gray. But it also grossly overstated the effects of radiation poisoning and it being contagious to other people and all that. Again, this video isn't about that. But I find it funny that he's mostly known for Chernobyl because it is critically acclaimed, that he's not known for any of his duds, if you will. Now, I'm not using this to discredit his work on The Last of Us. I think the first episode is a pretty solid adaptation of a video game. Well, besides Marlene's acting, she just felt off to me. I'm not hating on the actress. She's great as a voice actress, but maybe a few more takes were needed. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe it was just me that thought that. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, I feel like they were saying fucking a lot, and sure, they do that in the games, but it felt like forced in the show, if that makes sense. Look at me getting off topic. This Craig Mazin guy, though, he is the same guy who brought us such classics as Superhero Movie, Scary Movie 3 and 4, The Hangover Part 2, Identity Thief, The Hangover Part 3. So when you see stuff like the zombie kiss in episode 2 of The Last of Us, the scene that was meant to feel disturbing and violating ends up coming across as just extremely goofy. I'm of course referring to the scene where instead of dying while covering everybody's escape to Fedra soldiers, Tess stays behind after getting bit to hold off the infected so that Joel and Ellie can escape. Not much of a difference there, they just switched the infected with Fedra, but what is different is this infected just casually walks up to Tess and kisses her, with the cordyceps tendrils coming out of his mouth and transferring into hers via this weird makeout. Now, the showrunner Craig Mazin and the creator of Last of Us, Neil Druckmann, talked about their choice to do this scene in the show. And they basically said, like, if you're not trying to run away or fight them at all, then they'll just calmly walk up to you and give you the spores that way. They've come up with a few other copes as well on why they did this, and honestly, any attempt to make this deep kind of ruins it for me, because it's already in a mostly serious setting, right? It's not like there's some intentional layer of campiness to this project, at least yet, unless this was just a sign of things to come. It kind of comes off as insulting to the actress and the character of Tess, whose role, while minor, is very instrumental to Joel's motivation throughout the story. Craig Mazin wants to talk about how video games aren't deep and how when we kill people in video games, it's just pixels dying on screen, as if that's what happened when Arthur Morgan finally met his end, or when Big Boss hugs Snake at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4. Basically discrediting every cool video game death ever by saying that. I know it was probably taken out of context or blown out of proportion, but there is always this like layer of like, oh, we're better than video games. And it's like, well, people aren't really dying in movies. People aren't really dying in TV shows. They're actors. Like, when we see Joel in the TV show kill someone, it's exactly the same as when we see Joel in the video game kill someone. It's very much the same thing. And then you throw in this zombie kissing scene and try to make all these coping excuses for it. Can't even own up to its campiness. I mean, this isn't Robert Rodriguez's The Last of Us. This isn't Sam Raimi's The Last of Us. The campiness in that scene is not self-aware, so it's kind of ruined for me. Not the whole show, just that scene. I really think that scene was a miss for me. I think it was bizarre. It was intentionally over the top so that articles would get written about it. I don't know. It felt like they just wanted a shocking moment, and it was just kind of weird and bad and kind of knocked everything a few notches down, for me at least. But I don't know, that's just my thoughts on that episode. As always, if you liked the video, please like it. If you disliked it, please dislike it. If you feel like being a G, then consider subscribing. But what do you guys think about the infamous zombie kiss of episode 2 of The Last of Us? What do you guys think about The Last of Us so far? Let me know in the comments. But as always, let's get to our outro. Maybe I'm just overreacting, but I think that the scene was, if nothing else, goofy. And also, I want to state that when I was growing up, I thought Scary Movie 3 and 4 were very funny, but I also hated superhero movie.